So since Sony announced they will no longer be making physical discs for PlayStation, I thought it would be fun to go install all the physical games I have on my PS5 and see how much space I have. While I was doing that, I came across my copies of Rainbow Six Siege. Tom Clancy games are one of my favorite games to collect for, so I picked up both PS5 versions of Rainbow Six Siege, the Deluxe Edition released in 2020, and Siege X, released when Siege X came out. Physical copies of Rainbow Six Siege are interesting. Most versions simply contain Launch Siege on the disc, even if it was a somewhat special release, like the Advanced Edition released during Operation Chimera. However, I had always been curious what was on the PS5 discs. Was it just a PS5 version of Launch Siege, or was there something special on it? Well, it turns out there is something special on it. Both games come with a DLC code. For the Deluxe Edition, it includes Year 1 and Year 2 operators. For Siege X, it gives you access to Ranked and 16 operators. I don't know which operators they are. The Deluxe Edition was exclusive to Best Buy, of all places, which is really funny since Best Buy no longer carries video games, but I've seen the Siege X version being sold in Walmart and GameStop. Also, the codes last at least 10 years, which is pretty cool. But enough of that. What's on the disc? Well, the PS5 and I'm assuming Xbox Series X build of Siege is very, very weird, and unlike any build of Siege you have seen. Unlike something like Heated Metal, this is an official build of Siege made by Ubisoft. So what is it? Well, as you can see, it's essentially a mix of Shadow Legacy and Neon Dawn, with an unfinished menu of Aruni just walking endlessly, but the menu saying it's Shadow Legacy. Now, this alone is interesting to see, even if that's all it is. But there's a bit more. Terrorist Hunt is fully playable, and it's actually a pretty solid version of T-Hunt. But Skyscraper isn't a map. They were reworking it at the time, and as a result, it's not playable at all. But what's most interesting, at least to me, is the PS5 adaptive trigger support. Okay, so this is weird. PS5 adaptive triggers are always on. There is an option to turn them off, but it doesn't work. They're always on, so you'd have to turn them off on your controller if you don't want them on. Additionally, it only works on the right trigger. There is no support at all on the left trigger. And I don't know why, but it's just really weird to see this feature on this version of Siege. But by far the weirdest thing about this version is Warden. Yes, this is not Heated Metal. Warden has Maestro's LMG and Mira's secondary shotgun. Why? Who knows? But this is really cool to see. And yes, it works perfectly fine. He's even got an animation for tack sprinting with both in one hand. I can only conclude that Ubisoft wanted to give him a buff and were testing it with this build, but realized how OP he was now and reverted the change. That, or some developer knew that this build was just going to be put on a PS5 disc to forever preserve Siege on the PS5, and secretly edited this in before the discs were burned to give people like me something to make a video on. A few other things I noticed. White Masks use C4 more in Attack Terrorist Hunt. On Thatcher's situation, he has the 1.5, and on Bartlett U, the hostage on the second floor office is close enough to the window a breach charge will kill him. Also, the game looks different? I'm not sure what it is, but something about this version of Siege looks really clean. Cleaner than the PC version, I think. It really does look good, and the sound on this version is a bit louder. I can't really capture that in any way, but on my TV, the sound was a lot louder than it normally is. Both editions use the same build on the disc. There's nothing different on the Siege X disc, which I think kind of sucks. It would have been kind of cool to have an archive of Siege X Season 1, but whatever. This version is just really cool on its own, and it's only like 50 gigabytes, so if you are a physical guy or you're just interested in this version, it's not going to take up a ton of space. You'll probably have to either download the last-gen version of Siege to have this version on your system as well, or just move the updated version of Siege off your system for a second to install the disc. But all this stuff is on the disc, just turn your Wi-Fi off and you can play it. And that's about all I could discover. I'm sure there's more weird stuff hidden in the multiplayer, which is locked behind needing a connection to Ubisoft. Who knows, maybe PS5 modders can find more obscure things in here, or maybe I missed something unique about an operator, like with Warden. But this is all I could find. On its own, it's worth exploring and trying out Warden, and in a weird way, it's kind of comforting knowing that in the far future, when the PS5 can no longer connect to PSN, I can still play Rainbow Six Siege, which is more than I can say about physical copies of Rainbow Six Extraction.